Ladies and gentlemen, are we even recording? Okay, cool. Hello. The top news of the hour before we get into the actual clickbait, which I'm not sure whether it's going to be about Grimace or whether it's going to be about the Barbbenheimer Grind-house double feature or Creature feature featuring Creature, one of my favorite rap songs featuring a friend of mine named Creature. The song is called Creature Feature. It's featuring Creature. But I don't know who the original artist is, because I made it up. But either way, I'm weaning myself off of caffeine. I'm not one to quit drugs, okay? I'm not one to admit that I'm doing too much of anyone to ever actually stop doing it. If I ever quit drinking, it will be because a doctor has told me to, and you will not hear about it at all online. You will not hear about it 1 year later online, and I will talk about how long I've been doing it, and everyone, have a baby, quit drinking, and keep it to your goddamn self. That's all I'm saying. But caffeine, here's the thing. I was starting to get panic attacks and stuff, and I was wondering what was going on with me. And my wife, Alexis, who was on last week's podcast, said, hey, so they recently upped how much you're on enough, legal speed to kill Hitler. So, did you lower the amount of caffeine you're taking in at all to kind of balance that out? And I said, why no? As my hands shook and I panicked. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to cut down on the caffeine that I'm taking in. So I like coffee, and coffee is, arguably, good for you and all that. Like, it has health benefits, like Monster Energy drinks and Four Locos, not so much. But actual coffee, the thing itself is a good thing for you. And, but I switched from that just to, trucker caffeine tablets, but so I could, cut them in half and cut them into quarters and actually, ramp myself off, because I was, a little afraid that if I stopped all at once, I would die. Still smoking CBD, though. That's important. That's good for you. But, and I think I was right, because the first day, all I did was take one of those tablets, which is about the equivalent of the large amount of coffee I would maybe drink in a day. It's like 200 milligrams of caffeine. And I had cut down. There was a time when I would, be on the road or whatever, and I'd be eating 3 of those throughout the day or whatever for 600 milligrams of caffeine. And so it's I was down to, the equivalent of about 1, in the morning, not right away when I get up, 90 minutes to 2 hours later after I get up, where at least it has, a better, you get the best from it. It doesn't make you tired later. If you take it, right out of bed, it's not good for you. Or it's worse for you, whatever. But I did that. As of yesterday, I cut it in half. Cutting what I took in half by partway through the day, I could barely remember my own name. The backs of my eyeballs hurt. I hadn't had a single drink since Monday, and I felt like I was fucking hungover as shit. And it was rotten. My heart was racing, which I guess happens when you quit caffeine, which is wild. Because it's the reason you would stop is because your heart's always racing. But no, apparently when you, my watch tells me, it's your average is resting average is 72 beats a minute. And I was just watching TV on the couch at 10 at night. It was 91 for just no reason. And my wife and the internet were oh yeah, that happens. And I go, okay, this sucks. But that was just complete proof. As much as that sucked, it sucked a little less today, but as sucky as it is, that's oh, then I have to quit. Then I'm more addicted to it than I even thought. I had the passing thought that I was oh, this isn't even giving me any kind of boost anymore. I'm just avoiding withdrawal symptoms, which is bad. So I gotta stop doing this. And then I was well, if I wean off slowly, I'll take a half of one for a week, a quarter one for the next week, and then I'll try to stop. I'll try to take it later and later in the day, kind of just slowly try to pull myself away from it. And it was miserable even doing it as gently as I possibly could. So I had a real problem. But I do feel better. That weird panicky, dizzy, faint feeling that I was getting from being just hugely dehydrated and just having way too many stimulants in my system, that's gone, and it was just replaced by the memorable from occasionally times in the past where I've randomly quit just sort of like icky caffeine withdrawals, but those are actually better than how I did feel, which is crazy too. And that's like a really good thing. But yeah, the brain fog is absolutely terrible. Also, the idea of being on like a ton of Adderall and just like nodding off at 1 in the afternoon, just like that's how addicted to caffeine I was. It's like, oh, I just cut down a little and I'm just like having trouble staying awake, staying focused. And at work, I'm often part of the tour. You know, and people come in and like, we have our own, you know, media graphics guy, like in-house, does all the stuff on the walls. And I'm like, hey! And I was just like, oh, yeah, that's, hi, I do that. I made the stickers over there. Hello. Like, it was so rough. Luckily, today at work was not such a hard thing. How was your work today?
I was just going to see how long I could go without saying anything.
Yeah, I know.
Before we paused, I think this is the longest I've gone without saying anything on the podcast.
Yeah, you did good.
I know. Good job.
You got the best job in showbiz, if only it paid. It's like Ed McMahon, but you just have to look a little annoyed with me in silence for the entire time, which is pretty good.
I did.
Yeah.
I mean, not really, but kind of. It was silent.
Silent but deadly. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, quitting caffeine, too. Constipated as shit. Like, oh, man. I was like, and I knew it would happen. I was like, I kind of that bloated belly feeling. And
God, you still haven't told me that story about destroying the bathroom.
Well, right, because it's hard to say where that happened and how long ago it was, but
yeah,
let's say a Walmart bathroom a long time ago on tour, but yeah, it was on the ceiling. Like, and none was on me. It was on my butt crack, you know, I mean, it came out, we came in hot, whatever. But I mean, it was all over everywhere, and none was on my clothes or it should have been in my hair, and it wasn't. It was like in Pulp Fiction where they're like the holes in the wall are behind him. It's like, we should be dead, my friend. Like,
for me, it has more of like a trend-spotting, like, I don't know, feel to it.
Well, it kind of, sort of, yeah. Well, and it was like, it was the closest call I'd ever had in my life. It was just like, just painful, and there was like, only just like the outer lips of my butthole being pursed together was all that was stopping the Hoover Dam of Willy Wonka's chocolate hell river from flowing. Like it was like, it wasn't like, okay, there was a fart.
How did it get from like your butt to the ceiling?
So it started coming out the minute my pants, like, so like as like imagine this finger's my belt, like at the top. It was like as I pulled them down to sit, and it just was like, and I wasn't all the way down yet, and it hit. See, but I don't get how there's no splashback on me, because really, like, it hit the tank part of the toilet. It went like all like behind the lid and onto the floor, but there was like splatterback that just went like it was in the sink and like up, like it just came out everywhere. But it's like it came out in this perfect like pair of
shit.
Oh yeah. It came out in, like, crampy spasms. Like, I felt like I was going to, like, even after it was out, that I was like, I have to go to probably the hospital after this, because I probably ruptured, like, it was so fucking bad. Like, and I
had kind of a similar experience where I destroyed a holiday bathroom, but I didn't actually destroy the bathroom, but it felt like I was going to, and I definitely left my house because there was a band staying with me. So I did not want to have that, like, horrible stomach achy, like, God knows what. So I chose to go to a fucking public bathroom, which is even weirder. But
so you didn't get, like, hung up halfway through. You literally were like, I know I'm going to have to shit, but let's see how far we can get first.
Yes, I was like, I got to get out of here. I
got to get out of my house and shit in my car.
I can't do this here.
That is incredible, because firmly sitting upright on a toilet tends to send it down, you know, into the toilet where it goes. Like, I admit that I was like mid pants pull down, so my spine was as flat as the table. My ass was pointed at. No, I can't believe I didn't squeeze a little out in my pants. I mean, the wolf was at the door. Like, it was just, and he was about to blow my house down. Like the stiff ass walk I had to do from the bus in the Walmart parking lot into, like, you know, past people at the greeter. I'm just like, yeah. And then, like, just like, but I was like, you know, like,
hey, you know what? At least the greeter did not say hello to you in the bathroom. That's happened to me at a Walmart.
No, that's never happened to me.
At Walmart, I walk in there, I had to poop. And I went in, and they're like, hello! And I swear to God, I sucked that shit right back up, and I waited the 45 minutes until I got home. I was like, screw you.
Oh,
you
just
took away
go.
my ability to poop. Yeah, I couldn't poop after that. It, like, took it away.
Well, how dare you speak to me is my general,
I know, I was like, why are you greeting me in the bathroom? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Don't be like, why are you in here?
Maybe it was a really fancy Walmart.
They
have a bathroom greeter.
And in Bellingham, Washington.
Well, that's a fancy place. I know that. Yeah, though, like, it's just, I have had some bad shit cramps in my life. And I have had, but like, still normally it's like, I'll get to the toilet and I'll sit down and it'll be at least like a big fart that might be a little spackly, but it's into the toilet, But this was like, it was just everything I had. I was like, this is going to mess my organs up. Like, I was like, I'm just going to have to like pull down and go on the floor like an absolutely crazy person. And then like afterwards though, I was like, again, I was just like, how do I not, there's not a single thing on me. And like my butt cheeks, like pretty far out, like pretty, it banked pretty wide on the way out or whatever. It's like, there's no way it couldn't have. I mean, that, I was like, I had to like kind of clean up with like just wads of toilet paper. And then what am I going to do? Also, I just left it. But there's the thing, if I wanted to like clean up after myself in that situation, like it would have been like, I would have needed like a cup. And like I could have just taken wads of toilet paper and like scooped up like, this much off the flat floor. Like just, there was
shit on the floor.
It was like throwing a 5-gallon bucket full of yellow dog diarrhea into the ceiling fan as hard as you could. Like, I can't describe how much. And it felt, I mean, it explained the pain I was in. Because I was like, every bit of my intestinal tract is packed. What did you eat? I think, no, it was just a fucking hellish hangover where I was probably like drinking like moonshine and beer and stuff and like eating God knows what. By the time I was in Blue Felix, I would try to eat healthier on the road. Like, everybody was shitting up that bathroom. Like, just, like we had a bus driver that was just burning oil. Like, every single shit he took was like an emergency.
Didn't y'all keep a bucket in there?
Yeah. But he shit. We were playing South by Southwest, and he had to shit behind a dumpster in Austin, Texas. And like, he had to duck walk away because he was creating a lake that was like ever expanding, and he had to run. Yeah, but he was still going. So it was like his wherever you move, there you get away from your problems. There you are. That's like it caught up with him, and he was just like, oh my God! It was like someone pointed a shotgun full of pudding straight at the ground, pulled the trigger, like it was incredible. But yeah, and it always had blood in it. Like he was,
dying clearly.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, he had like. I remember he was like had been our bus driver for a while, and me and Jake were in a hot tub at whatever hotel and talking shit because like both of us were always the most beat up and like all right, well let's find a place with a shitty hot tub and we'll go in there. And he was talking about, he's like, yeah, and he has like 17 DUIs or something like that. And I'm like, wait, our bus driver? And he's like, yeah, like like okay, that sucks. He also is like a big meth head. But like, yeah, so his guts were just fried. But all of our roadies were just like the people the Tiger King would pick up. Like, there's literally no difference in those two situations. Whoever worked for Joe Exotic and why and in which capacity and how they were paid and housed was identical to our like road crew situation. Except they got to go on tour every once in a while. And, Joe Exotic's people got to hang out with tigers and rabid gorillas and things. And that's fun. But
and Joe Exotic. The man himself.
The best part.
Yeah, exactly.
I almost wish I had there was like the John Oliver bit when it was like during the 2016 election before Tiger King had come out. The thing
before.
But the thing where he was running for president actually did make it onto the late night circuit.
That's fun.
It's the funniest fucking. Maybe it was so long ago it was Jon Stewart. No, I think it was John Oliver. But like,
that sounds like enough.
He ran a clip of this at this point unknown Joe Exotic. He's just dressed like he dresses, like standing out by his tigers and limping around. And he's just kind of like listing off his thing. He's like, number one, I am not wearing a suit. I'm president. This is how I dress. I am gay. I am broke as shit. And I'm he's like just listing off all of these wild. I love that. Like, funnier than gay is broke as shit. But it was also, if you didn't know him at the time, that being like, I'm gay. It's like he's this weird rural fucking hillbilly guy. That's his like main thing. It's like it's the funnest thing about him is that you just you're born how you're born. It doesn't matter where you are or what your business is or whatever. It's like you don't have to live in New York City and like wear a turtleneck and whatever. You can be Joe Exotic and pick up a bunch of toothless teenagers and get them addicted to meth and try to marry them one by one while they help you break the law and hide your tiger revenue from the government. Whatever it is that you're doing. You know, you don't. The point of this is that stereotypes are wrong. Like, you really, you can't just go, imagine a gay man and go, okay, I think I have an idea. And then I hold up a picture of Joe Exotic and be like, are you sure? Like, he's the proof in the pudding that people just are too quick to try to categorize everybody. It's like, don't do that. There's a Joe Exotic out there for everyone. And he ran for president, and that actually did surface before the show did, like, during the pandemic. Also, one of my favorite things of the later pandemic was, like, I really hate the, whatever was going on as it wore on or whatever. It's like, can we go back to the $1,200 in Tiger King part of the pandemic? Because that shit was great. And then it was just the, like, sad people defending their rights to get a haircut with machine guns or whatever. Like, just the... And then the whole, like, weird in-between times. Man, that feels like a lifetime ago. And it is really funny, too, because, like, people still... I actually, one of the funnier things is that I was actually right, which is odd. But I was like, eventually, it's like, it mutates and whatever, but I was like, it's just going to, like... People are going to take the different vaccines, people are going to get it, and it's just going to turn into another thing that you get sometimes. That's more dangerous if you're, like, old and immunocompromised, like everything else is. But it's like the original version of it was honestly killing fairly healthy people, and we forget that. But then, like, my boss got it the other day, and he was just out of work for 3 days, and he just called on his voice was a little gravelly, and he's like, no, I've had allergies worse than this, but I'm testing positive. And then he tested negative, and he just came back, and he was fine, and he's, like, in his 50s.
I guess in a lot of cases, the more you get it, the more apt you are for, like, long COVID, so you're going to get, like, shit that's, like, with you forever.
Yeah,
so, but that's... So you have to, like...
But again,
it's, like, that's still happening.
That's going to fade into the...
But they're it's... With, like, now, like, with flu vaccines, every fall we get a new flu vaccine.
Yeah,
so we're going to get a new COVID vaccine, and that's what I'm...
Right, and I'm all for just getting those whenever they come out. Like, I don't give any kind of fuck. And, like, my thing is always, like, I'm very pro, like, let's just get the vaccine, let's get going. But I don't really want to, like, acquiesce to people who just were so excited and never have to, like, make eye contact and just sit in their house. And, like, okay, you do realize that even if that's great for you, that other people need to not do that, and they're going to eventually just burn the country down. So it's like, we can't. I'm sorry. I know this was fun for the introverts. And you guys don't get that many victories.
None of y'all were on my fucking roads.
Yeah, it was really fun when it was like the apocalypse for a while there.
Yeah,
just like,
I could drive 90 and no one gave a fuck and no one was in my way. Now I hate my life because everyone's in my way. And now I have to drive really slow because there's cops everywhere.
I know the cops finally started pulling people over again, and it's like, it's wild.
Like, a lot.
There's way less gunfire in my neighborhood, and everyone's bitching about how the cops are back, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's too bad. So, like...
I'm talking about the
I hate that my property value is going... Well, yeah, I know, but
they need to be... Yeah, because I know there's a lot of shit going on here. I'm just talking about the staters on the freeway. But
they're honestly, though, I think that COVID was an interesting experiment, that the fabric of society is just that. It's a thing. It's one big pair of jeans, and it's like, if you shit your pants, it's going to run down your leg. And you're like, well, the leg has nothing to do with the ass. The ass is the highway. It's like, yeah, well, when you let people just go 100 miles an hour and drunk the wrong way down the freeway, they're going to start going, I wonder what else I could get away with. And there's sort of a trickle-down thing to their kids that they don't raise, and like, whatever, and then you kind of get this whole mess. Like, I'm not saying everything starts from that, but when people get the idea that, like, oh, fuck, someone's watching me, everything drastically changes. Because the way things work with consequences are never the severity of the consequence. Like, the consequence for something could be like the death penalty, and if you don't think you're ever going to get caught, you're going to try it a few times. But if you think you're going to get caught and just go to jail for 90 days, but you're, like, 90% going to get caught, you're going to not do it, because you're like, I positive that if I... So I do, whatever. Like, I'm not, like... saying I love that the State Patrol. But am I saying that? Because people's driving, they came back and were
You're
terrible.
not on the freeways anymore, so you don't know how, like, annoying it is to have to, like, fucking slow down every 2 seconds because there's a goddamn cop.
I remember what it was like when I was on tour all the time and I didn't want to get pulled over and have our fucking van search for no reason every 3 seconds.
Anyway, why are we talking about cops? Boo.
Yeah. Probably because of my cool Top Gun glasses. It gives me a sense of authority.
Speaking of
Actually,
glasses,
it makes me look like I'm on a lot of cocaine, and what's actually happening is I'm coming off of a lot of caffeine, and I'm just confused and tired. But speaking of what?
I was going to talk about glasses and the Grimace.
Glasses and the Grimace?
Yeah, I was gonna, if we're ready to talk about the Grimace, I was gonna put my cool guy glasses on.
Would you please? Because I want to talk about a few things.
Join the douchebag club.
Thank you. Well, when Chris is on, we both wear sunglasses and like.
I know Chris needs to be on today. I don't know why he's not here.
Well, because you're here. He's just a special correspondent that's on sometimes.
Yeah,
also, he left work kind of early. I think he might be going out of town.
Well, the point is he's a correspondent, so we all three of us need to be together.
Well, that'll happen at some point too.
Okay.
It is a little bit, as we've made the conscious effort to like have different people on every once in a while, which originally
I know you two are cool. I'm just a poser,
and
wannabe,
and that's fine.
Here we are.
Yeah, no. Anyway, I just like that you have to put the sunglasses on to talk about the Grimace.
I do.
Which I really enjoy.
Because I don't know, I feel like the Grimace would wear sunglasses.
I don't know that he would. So, like, okay, the reason that we're bringing him up is that there's this thing where McDonald's was like, they put out a Grimace shake, right? And like,
it was his birthday.
Yeah,
June was his birthday. I don't know what day in June, but it was his birthday.
It was Grimace's birthday juice, and it's like Meredith and I have a long history with the McDonald's characters and stuff. And one of them being like, what is, and everyone goes through this, but what is Grimace? They're like, is he a droplet of a shake? Like, is he? Someone thought I think Alexis thought he was hash browns.
My sister said he's a taste bud.
That is what the internet has been saying.
Which is the grossest thing.
That's just
I'd
apparently
rather him
McDonald's.
be like grape soda.
Yeah, he might have been grape soda. I used to, in high school, I thought he was a bear with Down syndrome. And it's like, why would he be purple? And I'm like, well, because he's not, the chromosomes are different. I don't know how bears work.
And he's a bear.
And he's obviously the
blob.
The original Grimace had like 6 arms and was evil. He looked like in the black and white ones when Ronald McDonald had like a Dixie cup for a nose and like it was like weird.
That's crazy, creepy.
But yeah, so they made this big, huge deal about how like, oh yeah, the Grimace has a shake. So then TikTok did one of the only funny things that they've ever done, and they created these bits. Like that reminded me of like a funny thing I would do with a video camera like back in the day or something. So I'm like, good job, kids. Like this is actually terrifying where they drink the Grimace drink and they're like, actually it's not as bad as people say. And then it hard cuts to them like floating it dead in a bathtub full of purple stuff. And it just help me written on the wall in handprints or whatever. And it's like, it's like this meta craze of like a Red Letter Media style gag almost, where it's like, and it's just like hanging there. And like, I found a couple. I wanted to share them with you, Meredith. I did show these. I've also shown these to Alexis, and they terrified her. They might be a little quiet, but it does feed back into the microphone. But let's take a look at I labeled this one Grimace Child.
What's up, guys? We got the brand new Grimace shake. Of course, happy birthday, Grimace. Let's try it out. You know what? It's actually not that bad.
So they're all some kind of version of that, which is like really funny. So there's that child. And then this guy, I named it Grimace Boner because this guy has boner in his
got a lot of N
shirts.
Boner.
Well, he spelled it.
Happy birthday to my man Grimace. Today we're going to be trying Grimace's birthday juice.
That's called
It's not
birthday
juice.
Honestly, it's not even that bad.
That's about right. Similar to what happened to me.
Washington? Okay. It looks like he was in rural Washington. But yeah, so like...
There's one more, isn't there?
There's meta... Well, I'll show you that. But the funny part about the last one... So it's like this meta craze where like Grimace is like trending. Everybody did this thing. It's like honestly like it's an enjoyable thing on TikTok where normally it's just like it's stupid. Like the NPC gamer thing, which we drove into the ground in the last one. But like, I just enjoy that it's happening. And then there was like, people were making responses to it where it was like a sad Grimace, like, I was just trying to have a birthday. Why is everyone making fun of it? I saw that,
and that made me really sad.
It was really depressing.
That I hated his shake. Guys, I had the Grimace meal. I did it.
The Grimace meal,
I
did you call it?
Yes.
Would it come with like a purple hamburger? Like, what the hell is the Grimace meal?
I was hoping it would come with a toy. Like, I thought it was going to come with like a sex toy because that's all the memes I was seeing. I was like,
Grimace is shaped
butt plug?
Like a purple butt plug. That's like,
where's my butt plug? I didn't get one, but I got this shake. Okay, so I got the Big Mac version. So you get Big Mac. It's a fucking Big Mac and fries, and instead of a drink, you get this purple Grimace shake. And
so it's just they name the whole meal after the ancillary extra little piece you get.
It's not like you even get a toy. There's nothing special about this meal. You just get this nasty shake. And it's okay, the flavor is like they tried to do like this grape. Why would you want a grape flavored like snotty milkshake from McDonald's? I mean, you know how their milks, if you've had their
it should have been
before,
plum, like
the
Meredith's favorite plum Japanese
it
plum
is
line.
Now my new favorite.
Well, who wouldn't like a plum fucky? When you were hoping for a Grimace butt plug.
I was hoping so hard for a Grimace butt
plug. Hope against hope for a Grimace butt plug.
Didn't happen. But I got the shake, and I can eat anything that's like sugary, almost anything. And I
made you those drinks were like purple. Remember when I made you those rum drinks that had all the like, they were kind of purpley.
I don't know. I just remember the blue toilet, and those were amazing.
Oh yeah.
But
the 2020 flushes.
I did manage to finish the entire Grimace shake, and so far I've lived through it. I don't know when I'll get the cancer or the whatever it is that happens after you drink it. Time will tell.
I think you just. I don't think it's. I think cancer is too trite. Like I really do believe it would be some sort of like degenerative bowel, sort of like not
or
obstruction,
like ultra
but
diabetes.
Yeah, like whatever
like
happens,
diabetes 3.
like type 3 diabetes. It's like a type 3 civilization where you build a Dyson sphere, but it's just like, around your gallbladder. Like it's just like these little nanobots start, harvesting the energy from your body and turning it into their own glucose.
So maybe, with the fact that they tried to make it this fucking grape flavor, which was, maybe Grimace was grape soda, even though for, like, as long as I've been alive, McDonald's has never served grape soda, so why would he be grape soda?
Well, actually, like, it was funny, when you were talking about that, I was, like, trying to remember. It's like, do they do that? Because I couldn't...
Orange drink, bitch. That's all I ever had.
Oh, it was always orange. They really...
That's all I ever got. God, I love orange drink.
It's shocking that they don't... They should... I mean, they should lean into it, because Grimace looks like he could be, like, a thing of lean, which is purple drank and fucking codeine and cough syrup and shit like that. Like, they should just make him... with like face tattoos and stuff or whatever. And it's like McDonald's is mostly a setting for like world star hip hop, like viral videos. Like, it's a place that you go to get stabbed. Like you can go through the drive-through, like that's fine. But if you spend any time at all inside the restaurant or parking lot, it's because you eventually want to get into a fist fight with somebody that walked there. Like that's that's kind of what McDonald's is all about. So the fact that they don't just have like they don't advertise it, they just call it grape soda, but it's got cough syrup in it. They're just like, we're McDonald's. Like, the money, the revenue that we make from selling the fucking lean, the purple drink, like it's easier just to like pay off all the criminal charge. It's like, because that's how, it's like in Fight Club. It's like if that number is, it's like, just paying out for all of the, like, car fires and stuff is cheaper than actually recalling everything. We just let it keep happening and then just kind of clean it up every time. McDonald's is definitely, like, one of those kinds of, like, huge corporations where it's, like, it's just easier to pay out $2 million a day in lawsuits while you rake in, like, $1 billion a month, like, in purple drink revenue. But anyway, so, speaking of both money, the Grimace, purple drink, face tattoos, and everything... the other day at work, I spent 4 hours making from scratch an animated Grimace to try to cash in for our social media on, the fact that there's a lot of Grimace hashtags and the kids like this got like thousands of views too, like on our thing because I work for sort of a cannabis adjacent bong making CBD fucking Delta 9 gummy distributing vapey sort of company, and so it's like, well, Grimace is just right up everybody's alley, and
I named my cat after the Grimace.
Yeah, and I was like, there's two funny things about this little short video clip. It's like, one, this is what I get paid to do, and two, like, I do it with, at this point, like, zero overs. Like, I just decided on my own one day that this is what's going to happen. Everybody saw it after it was online. It was like, oh, that's really funny. We should do more stuff like that. And I'm like, cool, I kind of thought I was going to get in trouble, but I forget myself occasionally and where I am. And it's because, interesting shit's going to happen on, August 1st. Weed officially, like, can't sell it at a store yet. That's going to be another year of licensing and all sorts of weird shit. But you can definitely, like, on August 1st in Minnesota, like, grow cannabis plants and be smoking it and not go to jail and all that shit, which is amazing. And so, we're like, if you don't have grinders and bongs and things because you're, like, new to it, you're somebody's old parents, you're like, oh, well, we just never did it because we thought we'd get in trouble. But it's like, do you guys know what you need, though? And so that was sort of the angle of this, where Grimace tells you, that you can't smoke it out of a crushed up pop can or a fucking
I saw
apple.
someone soak it out of a loaf of bread today. I was so amazed.
That's impressive. I love the MacGyver.
She got a really great hit out of it, too. I was like, that's amazing.
Was this, by the way, was this in person?
No.
Was this on, what was it on?
Online.
What was her name? Was she a young blonde girl?
Maybe.
Okay, because that might be the influencer that we're friends with at work that's famously smokes out of food all the time. Like apples
I couldn't
and things.
tell you. I just saw it and thought it was neat.
It might have been Jesseland. I wonder. I should look that up. But anyway, that's a story for a different time. Okay. But this is my cartoon Grimace telling you to smoke weed out of something that's, legit.
Dad, August 1st is right around the corner. You don't want to be caught with a crushed soda can or an apple. You know what you need to do? You gotta keep it legit.
Off screen. Taken down. But yeah.
Is that your voice?
Yeah. You know what you gotta do? You gotta keep it legit. I used my phone, and so I just like put it, hey Ronald, just put it in my mouth. And like, yeah, I didn't even put like a lowering effect.
I figured it was you, but still, that.
I actually like. I wasn't so certain.
I can't quite tell.
It doesn't sound like me at all. Like, usually when I'm doing a voice, you can hear that timbre that you're like, oh, that's John. Like it's in there somewhere. But that I was really. It was just talking out of the very front of my mouth rather than out of my voice box. Mm-hmm. So that's what hides it,
Okay.
But yeah, that's just like a fun thing. Where I was just like, I could have made it longer too, but I just and Grimace may come back. That was like actually
next year, next June, he'll have another birthday.
Next Juneteenth Grimace Day. Yeah, and by the way, in that when we were talking about getting a Grimace butt plug, nothing is more apparent than when upon re-looking at that video that he is a butt plug. And he always was, I think. I mean, he's not as pointy at the top, but he's like a pear. He's butt pluggy. Like, it was interesting too, because like I wasn't really just to talk about what I did there. It's funny because at first I was like, well, maybe I'll just find an existing picture of him, but then I just sort of eyeballed it and like all like the shape, all that stuff I just made in Photoshop by kind of like bending like a circle into a squeezy thing, cutting eye holes. And then, like, having the eyes on a layer, the eyebrows on a layer. There's, like, an effect in Adobe After Effects where you can, like, kind of, like, open, like, you kind of put a slit and you can do the mouth thing. And then I put his, like, little, like, red tongue behind it. So there's all these, like, layers. And just kind of put them together in After Effects and you can just, like, rig it up. And it's like a paper puppet where instead of little strings in your hands, it's like, simple coding data. It's like this way, that way, like, hide the turtle, move the turtle forward 10, like, it's, hey, I learned something in school. It didn't apply directly to what I'm doing, but it's like reminiscent a little bit. But it was kind of fun. It was like sitting there just kind of like, and some of the glassblowers saw me like halfway through. It's like, what the hell are you doing? And I'm like, oh, I'm making a Grimace and he's going to smoke weed and whatever. And they're like, that's amazing. I'm like, yeah, it's going to be dumb. But it's fun to find a good excuse to be creative and insane in an environment where it's like, look, we just want eyeballs on our stuff. So it's like the one rule with the social media account is it should be like actual, like just every other day, like actual pictures of like glass pieces and things we're doing, and then every other day it could be something insane just to get people to pay attention. And I'm like, that's a good like it can't all be insane. So like, remember, we're selling a product here, but then beyond that, it's just like, we want people to be looking at what we're doing. So that's really fun. The Grimace really bailed me out there. So the other thing that we want to talk about is, and there's a historical precedent for this. I wanted to go make a double feature out of Barbie and Oppenheimer, right? And everyone was talking about how, it's like, oh, this isn't the first. Everyone's making such a big deal about these are coming out on the same weekend. But there was like, someone posted something about how like The Dark Knight and like some rom-com or something. It was a big famous one.
Something nobody probably cared about that.
It was but it was something. It was something that endures. It was something that people remember and were like, oh, that's a real thing. The Dark Knight might have been a way bigger deal. But it was also a Christopher Nolan movie, and it was also kind of funny that it was like the same time. I'd have to look it up, and I'm not going to. But
it's probably like Love Actually or something stupid.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe it had something to do with Adam Sandler. Or I don't remember. But, because, yeah, that was like 2012 or something. Or 8. Mm. I don't know when The Dark Knight even came out now. It was forever ago. But, anywho, the real thing, since I wanted to be like, oh, let's get movie theater tickets and then just, if we get caught, we'll pay for it, whatever. But, like, just like do the kid thing. Like, watch one and then go watch the other, sneak into the other one.
That's how it's done.
But movies are so long now, and my thought would be to see Oppenheimer first, and since it might be a little bit of a dark, then Barbie will take the edge off.
So you would want to do it the other way around, because Barbie is shorter. Oppenheimer is longer, like way longer.
It is, but it's way longer and a bummer. Like Barbie might just be like dessert after a long, eating like some sort of weird Cajun burnt steak or something where you're like, this is kind of interesting to get through, and then we have a little ice cream and then we're done. But either way, it was a terrible idea, because I don't go to see movies anything other than way even drunker than I get on the podcast. And drunk doesn't last, right? Like, you can combat drunk with various, amphetamines and caffeines and things like that, but it's like still that burns out. And also it doesn't make you really want to sit in a movie theater thing. It's hard to find a balance, with that sort of thing. And I remember seeing Grind-house in the theater. And the problem is that Planet Terror was such a, so Grind-house is like a double feature. These dorky director guys that we all love, Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino, were like, remember when they used to do a double feature? And then there'd be like trailers in the middle. And, so we're going to... Machete, which they made into a real movie.
And it wasn't that good, in my opinion.
I kind of liked Machete, actually.
I really was hoping it was going to be good.
I didn't know how good...
I ended up being kind of bored by it.
Cheech was like a priest in it, and like...
He was great. Like, the characters were fine.
He kills people, he fucks bitches. Like, I think it was like... If it was any less superficial, I wouldn't have, I would have been like, don't try. It'd be like... If they made, because some of the trailers were like, Rob Zombie made one. It was Werewolf Girls of the SS, and it's like, if they tried to make that serious,
and I was like, I really want that to happen, and it did. And I was disappointed.
I think I liked it. We need to watch that again. We should do a rewatch of Machete and really pick it apart, because maybe we were just expecting weird stuff, because even that came out a long time ago. But point being is that. Robert Rodriguez did Planet Terror, which had like Megan Fox had like Rose
McGowan.
Rose McGowan had her leg cut off, and it was like a machine
Megan
gun.
Fox is too young.
And they were jumping motorcycles over the zombie apocalypse or something, and like it was all like just this beautiful.
I wouldn't call it
80s.
Beautiful, but I would call it like very.
I don't know. It looks like the way the. I love vibrant colors through grindy filters and things. It looks like every music video I made for a while, because I just like, But like, yeah, not beautiful in a certain way, but it was like all this crazy shit was happening with it. And then there was all the weird trailers, and then it was Death Proof, which was Quentin Tarantino's entry. Now, in the eyes of history, Death Proof is an actual good movie. It's actually a very good movie.
Yeah, I rewatched it again.
But and that's the thing. Like, I thought it was boring because I'd already watched this crazy zombie apocalypse movie thing, and by then it was like the hours were dragging on, and I probably had been drinking, and I was just tired, and I'm like, okay, this one's slower and whatever. But yes, went back.
Because it's got the traditional, like, Quentin Tarantino dialogue, where, like, a lot of the movie is dialogue and just people...
And which is good, and also Quentin Tarantino thing where it's all real shit. And the fun thing about Death Proof, if you're going to listen, there's certain people... Quentin Tarantino's good at dialogue, but he's also good at picking the kind of actors that you want to hear talk. And so Kurt Russell being kind of like, it's really too bad that because if you'd lived this way... there would have been a little bit more time before you realized that this was going wrong. But unfortunately, you live over that way.
There is like
and now you know that that's not where we're going.
That is great, but there is one thing I do need to pick apart is the thing that I think he could have cut a little bit from the movie was the conversation between all the women before they, like, got going in the car or whatever.
Some of his movies are love notes to certain people, which this movie was. And
it was just like... You're all sitting at this restaurant table for just a bit too long. Let's cut it down a couple minutes. Quentin, please.
Yeah, and he is really good at atmospheric pacing and stuff. He's no Kubrick, but honestly, as far as living people that we have, he's close.
Another thing that bothered me about that movie is, like, the girl really had to pee, and it showed her, like, grabbing her crotch, and I'm like, I'm sorry, like, that's not a girl thing. Like, dudes do that, but, like,
yeah, but they were like tough bitches in a man's industry. I think maybe it was a bit of a vibrato. It was a bit funny to gesticulate. I don't think it was a real reaction. I know what you're talking about, and I wonder if it was like...
it actually made me, like, a little annoyed. I was like, that's not, like, weird. Like, we do the pee-pee dance or the pee-pee walk, but we don't, like, have to, like, be like, ooh.
I think it was symbolism. I don't know. Like, maybe it was off, but it might have just been a, like...
I think it was just directed by a man.
Maybe so, but I feel like the women in that movie kind of would have been... Because, see, the fun thing about the women in that movie is they were all stunt actresses, right? Like, they're not usually, like, leading...
No, just the one.
Really? It was just the one? I thought it was
just the one that was on the car. What's her face? She actually played herself.
No, I know. I know she played herself, but I thought one or, like, two
Dawson
or three...
or whatever
Well, I know she's not a stunt actress, but I thought a couple of them were...
I don't think so. I think it's just the one.
Okay. Well, either way, the fun thing about that movie is that it was all real stuff, right? It was not like CG. It was not like, fake car explosions. It was all people were really hanging off of the cars and stuff. And it was kind of a love note to the real action 70s stunt, crazy. Like I just said... I don't remember if you came over once and I was like I was watching old Simpsons on Disney Plus or something, and I can't remember if you were there during when I saw the Who Shot Mr. Burns episode was getting rerun.
I was not there,
you weren't. Okay.
Know the episode.
But there was a scene in that when Smithers, after Mr. Burns is shot, he wakes up. I forgot how fucking funny this was. Like, he's like, oh, my mouth tastes like cigarette butts or something, and then he burps and a bunch of cigarette butts fly out. And he was like, oh, Mr. Burns is like in the shower in the bathroom. He's like, oh, it was all a dream. This didn't really happen. And Mr. Burns is like, that's right. The year is 1968, and we're undercover detectives on the racing circuit. And he's naked, but he just puts on a helmet. He's like, now let's burn rubber. And it's just like race car squad in color. And it's just like they're standing up, firing a shotgun out of like a race car. It's like, and it's like that air, but like that, I forgot about that scene in that, and it was really, and then that turned out to be the dream, and so I was like, wait, that's not real. Then I did shoot Mr. Burns, whatever. But like that race squad in Technicolor thing just had that like old late 60s, early 70s Charles Bronson, like those guys are probably really standing up in a moving car, like firing blanks out of a real 12 gauge, like it just. And Tarantino obviously has like a love for that, so he's like, okay, we're just gonna actually like risk everyone's lives in this movie.
Feet.
Oh, and he loves feet. But at this point,
there was plenty of foot shots, whatever, how you want to say it, in that movie.
In that one, yeah.
And what's his face? The bad guy like touches her foot when she's in the car. And she was just like half asleep. She's got her feet hanging out the car, and he like runs his hand up her foot.
Well, yeah, he plays a real
good creep
in that. Yeah. Kurt Russell, just like, and he had like, you know, he's a decent actor at not always being the same character, but I feel like there was a lot of Jack Burton sort of injected into like that particular role. But if he was like an evil slime bag, like, well, that's too bad, sweetheart, because he just was he doesn't act like that in The Thing. You know, there's plenty of movies where Kurt Russell's not doing that, but he was definitely chewing the scenery like Jack Burton in one of my favorite movies ever, called Big Trouble in Little China. And, Alexis has both a crush on 80s Kurt Russell and old Grandpa Kurt Russell, both I can see. But she always likes it when I quote the, you know what old Jack Burton says thing. And it's fun. When some 8-foot-tall, wild-eyed maniac taps your favorite head against a barroom wall and asks you if you've paid your dues, will you look him right in the eye and say, yes, sir, the check is in the mail? He's like, do that again. I'm like, I'm just going to do it once per day. But I don't know. God, I love Big Trouble in Little China. But anyway, yeah, so like seeing Barbie and Oppenheimer in a row would probably give it the Grindhouse negative effect of whichever movie was second, where I would not give it the real chance that it deserves.
Right.
And I would end up kind of going like, oh, Oppenheimer dragged on too long. He's like, well, maybe it's fascinating. Like, it probably is. It's probably great. And then, or maybe Barbie's like, I don't know, it's kind of stupid. But, maybe I sense that movie might be amazing for one reason or another. It is like a deconstruction of the whole thing. It was made by a lady director who's got a point to prove. So I'm like, okay, so it's probably weird as fuck. And
the trailers made it seem weird as fuck. And just...
Well... And also, someone, or it might have been Spencer at work, was talking about, it's like, I don't know, like Margot Robbie. I'm like, well, she's like hot and a good choice to be Barbie and everything. But if you think about it, she's been in more weird movies than normal movies. Like, for one thing, she was like Harley Quinn and all of, that's just one thing by itself. She was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Wolf of Wall Street. I feel like I'm missing something. There was like one that was like kind of experimental and crazy that she was in. But it's like, she always plays stuff that's kind of wild. Like, she's not just, she's just the hot chick or whatever.
Tanya.
She was in I, Tanya, yeah.
She was fucking Tanya Harding.
Yeah, she's Tanya Harding. She's in stuff that's, like, kind of insane and, like, really casually great at it, you know what I mean? Where it's like, it doesn't feel put upon. She's like, yeah, okay, like, I'm just playing, a comic book character or Tanya Harding or whatever, and all of it just feels natural, it's like, so... her being in that movie is almost like a sign that it's like kind of weirder than you even think it's going to be or whatever, like more of a head trip, like I would count her amongst like, oh, this is someone you pick when you're going to do something kind of wild, not just like, oh, she's a pretty face, like she's a blonde lady, like whatever. It's like, no, like we know that Margot Robbie can hang. So I figure like, and also, so can Ryan Gosling. So it is like, they're both kind of like...
I think he's a really great choice for Ken. So many people think he's not because he's like... I think he's like too scrawny for it. I'm like, or too old. And I'm like, but like when you...
Well, they're both older
when you look back at the Ken dolls, like, I'm sorry, I played with Barbies. I fucking know. They all looked kind of old. Like...
Well, because they were people from like the 50s. So it's like, when you were 31, you looked like Roger Sterling from Mad Men. You're like, oh, you're getting old there, Gramps. Like...
I think he's fucking perfect.
Like, he looks like...
My sister was like,
a Kennedy or something.
It needs to be somebody more square, like Chris Pratt. And I'm like, oh, God, no.
Well, he would have been like...
Chris Pratt maybe would have been okay, but, like, I'm so sick of him. And he's Andy from Parks and Rec, and that is all he'll ever be to me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, like, we were going through, like, I think we were talking about at work, like, who else would be a good Ken, and it's like, The Witcher / Super Henry Cavill. He would have been all right.
Maybe like looks wise.
But Ken is like well, and he's a great actor, but like looks wise is kind of what we're talking about, I think. But like,
Hey, actually, yeah, he would have been all right for looks.
but Ken, it's like you do realize he's called Ken because it's short for Kennedy, right? Like that, he's supposed to look like one of the younger Kennedys. Like, hello, like it was funny. Like Peter was describing somebody. And I loved this. It was a guy it was just like somebody that was like a friend of a friend. But he was so weirdly handsome, but it wasn't an actor that it's like perplexing. Because I was like, well, what do you mean? And Peter's like, he looks like he would get cast to play a young Kennedy in a movie. But in real life. Like with like the butt chin and square, like just nobody looks like that. Like it looks like it's like a eugenic scientist wet dream. Like nobody fucking actually looks like that in real life, and except for like this dude. And it's like that's who Ken is. He's like a Kennedy. But yeah, it would be like the Cavill thing. It's like anyone who you would pick to play Superman, barring Nicolas Cage, it would be a good Ken if you were going that route. But I think since they were going for like wild, it's like, well, maybe like Ryan Reynolds didn't want to do it, but it's just like, yeah, Ryan Gosling, somebody who's in this, because like Will Ferrell's in the movie, like it's like a bizarre.
I feel Will Ferrell. If you've ever seen Zoolander, I feel like he's playing like around the same character.
I bet he is. That's what
that's just my feeling.
So hot right now. Well, yeah, him being an over the top. Yeah, but I think he's more of like an executive, like less of an auteur as he's supposed to be in it. But I agree. Like I think that's the joke. It's like he's just kind of like, well, here's what we're gonna do. Yeah, and when I see Will Ferrell, I just wish I was also looking at John C. Reilly, which is I feel like a fair.
Yeah,
reaction.
I wish I'd rather be looking at John C. Reilly than Will Ferrell any day.
And that will always remind me of when I learned that when you worked for Great Clips, and I would always go with you to the like Christmas parties and things, about how that's where I learned that all the franchises of the Great Clips were like named after sailing things like Windjammers and Full Sail.
That was just the choice of my dumbass franchisee.
Oh, okay. I thought it was like a rule.
It wasn't a corporate thing. That was like my franchise.
Okay. Well, either way, like, but I remember being like, I want to start one called Boats and Hose, and your friend Tiffany just started screaming about it, which is like, Boats and Hose. Like,
I don't know if it was Tiffany. It was probably Chelsea.
Oh, maybe
it was Chelsea.
I can't remember.
That was after Tiffany.
Oh, maybe I think we maybe just relayed the story to Tiffany, but either way, getting her to shout about something was, is not difficult, and I think that resonated with her, like Boats and Hose. But then years later, Alexis told me that. She was rapping the whole Boats and Hose song when she was on her parents' sailboat when she was like 12, and they got really mad. It's like, other people on boats are gonna hear you. Like Boats and Hose. When I ejaculate, I produce a quart. Yeah, she knew the whole. Still to this day, if she was probably like napping on the couch, but she could come down here and do the entire thing from memory. And
I used to, but it's
her mom and dad would just yell at her. So. I'm in a bit of a bind here.
Because you don't know where Dear Asshole is?
No, I know right where it is. It's underneath the drum set on the couch side, but you're closer to where you can... Well, I like throwing it at the drums.
Stop that.
Well, it makes a noise, and I like that.
Up afterwards.
I forgot. So, like, towards the couch more. But, like, yeah. Well, it's about that time. We're 53 minutes.
Past that time.
No, it's 3 whole minutes past that time. Okay, thank you. It is time to read from Dear Asshole. God, I look like such a fucking douchebag. Like, it's amazing. Like, I'm just like KMFDM's Hawaiian Vacation.
It's okay.
So whenever I lose a little bit of weight, I'm just like, ooh, I just turn into a fucking piece of shit.
No.
What?
I don't know. It looks like it's been read.
It has. Oh, there we go. I know I haven't read this. So, Dear Asshole, like, again, go back and watch other episodes if you want an explanation.
We're never going to explain it when I'm on the show.
It sounds like something Andy would say. And but I can't wait to explain it to Andy, by the way.
Yeah, you can do that. That's fine, because I probably won't be here.
Yeah, so it's been over-explained. So, I'm just going to read a book from this tome of horror of tear-out pages of passive-aggressive notes that were written. This book was written in 2011, so it wasn't written by AI. I do need to repeatedly bring that up because that was such a great theory.
It really was.
And unless
I believed it, and then we proved that it wasn't. And
although I feel like this came from the same dimension as that cup that Ben had that had both
the
McDonald's and Taco Bell on it, which there aren't any anywhere. We looked it up. So it's like, why is this a thing? And we figured out that it actually might just be the Holy Grail. Like it looked, that's what it looked like back then, but no one knew how to paint it. It was colorful, so they just painted jewels on it or whatever. It's like, yeah, I want to waste. Not even learn, because I know how to do this. I just want to waste the necessary time to just take the scene from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade and just leave it at the exact same and then edit the McDonald's and Taco Bell Big Gulp cup that Ben had. Just so it's like the guy turns into a skeleton and then they look through and then the McDonald's
we can make this happen.
and then Indiana Jones like, this is the cup of a carpenter. It's like that. And then the guy's like, you have chosen wisely. And then it's just super, but like I want to do a good with the lighting so it like looks really like it was always there. Although I guess that should be the cup that turns the guy into a skeleton. Maybe we need two cups where it's like the McDonald's Taco Bell one
and the McDonald's Grimace
ages the guy, and then the Grimace shake is where it's like, this is the cup of a carpenter, and it's like, this is the cup of a day laborer in a McDonald's parking lot. It's like, that's what gives him eternal life. I like this. This is what we're going to do. But anyway, yeah, you tear out... This book is from wherever that came from, which means this thing probably was at one point in the Ark of the Covenant. And I shouldn't be handling it. I'm sure if I had a Geiger counter on me, it's like, But we're all going to die of radiation poisoning sooner or later. Mm-hmm. Dear asshole who borrowed my shirt. Really scraping
you
bottom
let
now.
him. You let him. This is on you.
I will say, to your point, it is not dear asshole who stole my shirt from me. It's dear asshole who borrowed my shirt. Dear asshole who I chose to lend something to. And then get all bitchy about it because I'm a piece of shit.
Yup.
I don't know what the hell you did to this thing, but you have some nerve giving it back to me in this condition. Imagine being friends with anyone. I wouldn't borrow a fucking feeling from this person. Like, it's just another Simpsons reference. Can I borrow a feeling? It's stretched out and it's completely covered with holes and stains. Isn't that hilarious? You know, this is mostly a tome of missed opportunities, right? Like, if you're gonna make a funny book, like every line, if you're gonna, the setup is gonna be, I don't know what the hell you did to this thing, but you have the nerve giving it back to me in this condition. That's already like dragging on too much without any kind of real like goof in it. Like, it's stretched out and it's completely covered with holes and stains. Like, that's like just a normal, real bad thing that would happen to his shirt. But like, instead it's like, it lights up like Christmas under a black light. And the smell reminds me of like the dumpster behind an Arby's after the 4th of July. Like, just, put jokes in your funny book. Like, I don't even, like, that stupid shit I made up on the fly while tired from caffeine withdrawals and sort of drunk were a little funny. The blacklight one actually wasn't bad. But it's like, okay, imagine you were getting paid to take time to do this. You could probably come up with something funnier than that.
A Long John Silver's dumpster.
Exactly. Okay, so this spitball session, we're now at what, 45 seconds deep, and we already outdid this thing that someone probably, like, bought a nice car from the residuals from. Fuck these people. God. Hire us to make a shitty read it on the toilet book, you assholes. Whoever's reading this. That's the real asshole I'm writing a letter to.
Whoever's reading this?
Whoever's reading this podcast. Oh, by the way, if you're listening to this at all or whatever, like, this is now available. It does that thing when you listen to it on Spotify. It's a video.
Yep,
I figured out how to do that, and from this computer too now. So now it goes to YouTube and that right off of here. So I've cut down.
Too fancy.
Yeah, I figured out how to streamline it a little bit, but I still need to make a thumbnail, so I can't immediately do it. It's gonna have to go up, in a little bit. Anyhow, there's all these holes and stains in it. And some of my favorite people have holes and are covered in stains. I don't know. But did you spend the night playing rugby in a cactus patch? Or did you just get frisky with your cheese grater? I hate the people who wrote this. I renew my fucking vow to, at the end of this book, I'm going to, like, Dennis Reynolds, I'm just going to, like, the people who wrote this book are going to be, like, they're just going to turn around and, like, there I'll be. Yeah! Like, I'm going to wear these sunglasses, and I'm just going to dress like the cop from Terminator 2. And I'm just going to follow, it's like, it's like, and I'll walk up to, like their kids or something, and I'll be like, hi, is Jillian or Michelle Madison here? And they'll be like, oh, they're right over there. And I'll be like, hey. Then just like, say, that's a nice book. I just showed that movie to Alexis.
What?
Terminator 2, she'd never seen either one or two.
Oh my god. Eddie,
she's seen aliens and stuff, so that's partway there. But yeah.
Okay. I'll go shame her later. Anyway, get on.
Yeah, get on with it. Get on with it. She has seen the Monty Python and the Holy Grail, so that would fly with her. Anyhow, frisky with the cheese grater. God, get crazy with the cheese whiz. This is like a Beck song, but not good. Don't even get me started on the horrific odor permeating from the fabric either. Oh, and it stinks. Great. Okay, did you happen to encounter a decomposing body at any time in the last 24 hours?
You tell the cops, bitch?
I don't know. Again,
stitches get stitches.
Bad smell jokes write them goddamn selves. It's like, did you spray the ceiling in a Walmart bathroom on tour with diarrhea like John did? Like, is that, but unlike John, did it actually get all over you instead of fucking God came down from motherfucking heaven and stopped those diarrhea blobs in midair? Like, sure smells like it. You could at least have washed it, or in this extreme case, just burned it and told me it was lost. That's a little funny. Like, it's that's the worst part. The glimpses at humor suggest that all that really happened is they just didn't take the time, right? Like, there's a sense that it's like you're not just painfully unfunny or lazy, and I don't know why that's worse, but it is. It's like the musical comedy thing where Jason Kruger literally called people out on stage, and it was like, if you didn't prepare for this, at the very least, don't say that, because you might get some laughs and maybe no one will notice. And if they, or we will notice, and you didn't have to say it. And, that was very funny, and he was right. And it was the first time I've ever heard him berate people from the sound booth like that. Like, again, I can't describe, it would have been great if I had dropped and then set up me and Chris's set so I could, no, you know what? I'm going to do that.
Save it for next week, bitch.
That's what I'm going to do. Instead, I'm going to actually do that for the first time ever. And the Doug Stanhope podcast does this sometimes where they don't officially release things, but just at the end of the podcast, they'll play like a live recording of something that went wrong at a show on the road or whatever. But that's what I'll do. Instead of the normal outro, I'll just play the whole thing where Chris and I, play the national anthem and I scream about the devil. Well, it's not like a secret. I'm also getting it all wrong. It's going to
be next week's podcast, so shut up and read the book.
I can either shut up or read the book. I can't do both. Anyhow, you owe me. Of course we do, Karen. God damn it. P.S. No, you can't borrow my new jeans, you asshole.
Oh my god. Ha 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 ha.
But I'm bumping. So, if we've learned anything from this podcast, it's that the Hamburglar is Satan, which we never actually got into, so we didn't learn that at all.
Well, according to the Book of Meredith, the Hamburglar is Satan.
It is an important thing. It's the whole reason I wanted
When I was a kid, I thought that's what the devil looked like, was the Hamburglar.
Like when people at church or something, or like...
Yeah, that was the devil. That's how I pictured him when I was a kid.
So, like, in your mind's eye...
It wasn't the red guy with horns. It was the fucking Hamburglar.
The Reverend John Wheeler podcast takes zero responsibility for the words, actions, or ideas of its host, guests, or listeners. Though the people on the screen may at times be speaking directly to you and may occasionally give you direct calls to action, neither Reverend John nor the Alchemical Cocktail Lounge are under any moral or legal obligation to answer for the potentially disastrous repercussions that may arise if you are stupid enough to actually follow the orders of a raving lunatic. Think for yourself and do whatever you want, because you're on your own. If anyone ever tries to sue this podcast, black SUVs will converge on your location in the darkness of night and you will never be seen again. Remember to like and subscribe.